Hello, gals, they sometimes, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Oh, hi, I'm eduax99 and I'm a TFT content creator. A little bit about me. I've been playing TFT since the very release of set 1 on the LAN server, but it wasn't until set 3, mostly 3.5, where I decided to go full competitive and picked that 99 LP masters on LAN and had multiple accounts on Diamond and above in US and NA servers. During set 4 and 4.5, I've been playing mostly on NA, and currently I'm a masters at 80 LP. I'm also currently a TFT coach at proguides, so if you wanna message me through the proguides platform for a one-on-one session with me, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, first things first. First, I'd like to thank Maskoff758. I think that's his username. If not, I'll link his channel in the bio because he has a lot of great TFT content. I use kind of his guideline. He goes through 4 different compositions to guide myself into this one. So big shout out to him. He has a great content. Go check him out. Saw that he really have a one for Enlightened Talon-Morgana, which is my favorite comp at the moment. So I got inspired and decided, hey, why don't I make a guide for you guys? Let's get started. And first, we're gonna go over the build, then we're gonna go over the items, what items to make, carousel priority, then we're gonna go into the early game, the mid game, the late game, and some extra stuff for you guys so you get a good placement in your games playing this comp. Okay, first let's go over the build. The build is pretty simple. This is your level 8 board. In this case, you can see that you can play it with either no chosen or a chosen adept. Talon-Morgana and Enlightened is a very flexible composition because you can play it with perfect synergies with no chosen. So the chosen you get kind of makes little variations on the composition. So let's see a few examples. Option 2 is when you get an Enlightened chosen Talon-Morgana or Irelia. In this case, you can see to swap out Janna for Cillian and maybe Nasus for Vladimir to get a 3 cultist spike. You can also run the standard build with 5 Enlightened, like this one, just with an Enlightened chosen. But important to know that running Fiora for 6 Enlightened, it's not worth it in my opinion. So I wouldn't recommend you guys do that. With the option 3, we have either it can be a chosen Assassin Talon or Siphoner Morgana, which you can see because of the screen, but you can either get a chosen Assassin Talon or chosen Siphoner Morgana. In that case, you seek to swap either Pike or Nasus, depending on what chosen you got, for any strong 2-star unit. Good examples are Astrox or Sejuani for extra frontline, or you can even, or if you happen to get an early Lee Sin, Azir, or Ornn, you can see to play one of those instead of Nasus or Pike. And those will be your main variations. One thing to know that are included in the guides that you can also play it with a 4 Mystic, chosen Janna, chosen Shen, even chosen Yuumi. But I don't personally like it because I don't think Mystic is a strong trait on its own. It's strong because it has very strong units, but I wouldn't keep that chosen for very long, especially not the leaking. Okay, first the items, not first, but let's continue with the items. Okay, so first it looks kind of crowded, but let me break it down for you guys. So in here we have the core items for Talon. He has 2 core items. You want to have GA and Infinity H on him. If you happen not to have those 2 items, you see him struggling a bit and seeing that he's not at the very top of the damage charge in the fights. Well, one thing to know apart from these core items is that Talon definitely needs 3 items. So the extra 3rd item I like to make after I make these 2 core items, GA and Infinity Edge, I like to make Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, or a Hodge. If I happen not to have the components to make any of these 3 items, I'll try to go for a static shift, Runans, or a rapid fire cannon. And some other options you can also run, but I personally don't like are Deadblade and Bloodthirster, but they can work as well. Okay, so for Morgana, she's a little bit different. She only has 1 core item, which is Morellonomicon, and in my opinion, you can play her with just 2 items. She doesn't require 3 items to shine. So I would say Talon 3 items, these are the 2 cores. Morgana 2 items, this is the core. All right, so the items I like to make first, if I have the opportunity, I like to make a dragon, either a Dragonclaw, a GA, or a Solari. because this gives extra defensive stats to Morgana. She already has enough damage with the Emerald Morgana. She already has enough damage with the Emerald, so any of these three works perfectly. If you want more damage, you can go for a Jewel Gauntlet or a Death Cap, which will really bring Morgana to the top of your damage charge in every fight. For here, we have third item slot. I don't tend to go for any of these unless it's like, you know, the very late PvE rounds where you happen to get one of these items. They go really well with Morgana, Ionic Spark, Bramble Best, if there's a lot of assassins, Ergo Stone Plates, or even a QSS. This item is actually really good on Morgana, but it's not like you make it first or second. It's very situational. If you happen to see a lot of listings in the front line, this is the item to go. Moving on, right here we have an example. You get to have 3 items on Talon, you get to have 2 items on Morgana. You want to start making items as the game goes. So for example, let's say you have a sword, you have a belt, you have a tier, and you're going into the next carousel. What you want to do is you want to hold those 3 items and see to make one of the component items for either Talon or Morgana. You can go ahead and grab a glove to make a Infinity Edge, you can grab a Chain Vest to make a GA, you even can grab a Rod to make a Morgana. You see, you have different options, but you want to be making item as the game goes. You never want to hold too many items. Even if there's some items, for example, let's say I can make an Infinity Edge right now, but I can make a Hodge. Go ahead and make a Hodge, it will be fine. You can put it in your Talon, he's gonna carry with that, it's gonna be great. So what do we do next? So here are examples for support items for non-carries, which means these items will not go in either Talon or Morgana. The first and best support item will be obviously Fawn, the Fawns of Nature, because it lets you put another unit in the board, and that means that your board is significantly stronger than the other people in the game. In here, you can also see you can go for a Zephyr, a Redemption, a Shroud of Stillness, or even a Zeta Zeta Rod Portal. But note that these are mostly late game items, and some of these run components from the core items of Morgana and Talon. So these items you want to make after you have the 3 items on Talon and 2 items on Morgana. Some extra thing to note is that you can make a blue buff, an Ice Cream Cone, or a 6 Herald. These 2, the blue buff and the Ice Cream Cone, are actually really good, and you can slam it in the very early game because they're really good throughout all the stages of the game. Early game, mid game, late game. And as you can see, both Blue Buff and Chalice of Power or Ice Cream Cone don't require any components from the core items of Talon or Morgana. You see no tiers, no cloaks. So these 2 items, if you happen to have the components or you happen to have a lot of tiers in the early game, make them, you're gonna be okay with them. 6 Herald is also a really good support item, but as you can see, or as you may well know, it uses 2 components from Talon and Morgana, belt and a sword. So I wouldn't slam it in the very early game, but this is a good item you can run. Okay, so the Talon-Morgana composition doesn't use spats very well, but the ones I would say are the most useful would be a Divine Spite. You can place it on Morgana for the 3rd slot, 2nd slot, or you can put it on Johnny as well. And the Assassin Spat, same thing. With this spat, you get to get rid of Spike to run a stronger unit, and you put this on Yone or Morgana. I typically would put it on Yone 99% of the time, unless I have really good items on Morgana or something like that. But in my opinion, putting on Morgana makes a lot of messy, scrappy fights, so I tend not to do it. I put it on Janna. I put it on Janna first instead of Morgana. But Janna is another good user of this spot. Okay, the carousel priority first, obviously you want to have a lot of swords because as you can see, Talon uses a lot of swords really well. It gives him a lot of power, and this is the main component you're gonna go to try for in every carousel. After you get a sword, if you don't have to get a sword, you go for a glove because with this glove, it's very flexible. You can make a lot of good items and core items as well. Then a chain vest for GA because it's absolutely necessary on Talon. After you make a GA, well, you don't need any other chain vest. And after that will be a rod. A rod for obviously Morgana or any other items that Morgana may want to use. Okay, so here's an example of your board at level 8 after stage 5 carousel. Okay, in here, you can see that we made a GA, an Infinity Edge, and a Giant Slayer on Talon, so she's pretty strong right now. We have a Morolonomicon and a Dragon Clone Morgana. She has 2 items, she's perfectly fine. If you happen to continue with the game, go to next extra PvE rounds, you can see and put a 3rd item on her, but she works perfectly fine with just the 2 items. One thing to know, just every single game by the Raptors, you will have at least 12 components, which means you can make 6 complete items. In that case, I'll see to always make 3 items for Talon, 2 items for Morgana, and 1 support item from the ones we cover up here. Any of these support items will be crazy good. Okay, so and after the carousel from stage 5, you also get another complete item. So you put it on whatever you got. For example, in here, let's say I make this blue buff in the very early game because I had a lot of tiers. I had it in Janna. Then at level 8, I got Johnny. I sell Janna. I put another Janna in, and I give the blue buff to Johnny because Johnny is the one of the best users of blue buff. He's gonna be thriving a lot with this item. And from the carousel, let's say I see a redemption. I want the redemption. I got it, and I put it on any of my frontline units. Preferably, I like to put it on Irelia because it lets her cast it quicker, and she's gonna die very soon. So she's gonna give the healing to almost everyone. Boom, the early game. During the early game, you want to run a good frontline and a good backline with TPS. For example, in here, you can see you can run a frontline of 2 Divine. In here, we see an example of Jax Nasus, but you can swap them for Maokai Tamkench for 2 Brawlers, or Wukong Nautilus, something like that for 2 Vanguards. And in here, you see that we have 2 Sharpshooter as our main primary carries, but if you happen to have 2 Assassins, you can run that as well. The item holders would be either Nidalee or Tristana, which you happen to 2-star first, or Diana. And here we have another example of an early board. This is personally my favorite or preferable to go in every single game. I think Cultist is pretty strong, especially in the early mid game. So if I can run it, I will run it. In here, the item holder will be Twisted Fate. You give him all the items from Talon, even if you happen to make a Morolonomicon early, you can give it to him. We want to run 3 cultists and 2 keepers. You want always the 2 keeper buff. And in here, we can see another example of early board with 3 Dragon Soul. Note that I put a random Fiora in here because the 3 trade from the Dragon Soul is good enough on its own, so you don't have to run like, for example, let's say I have a 2-star Fiora and I have a 1-star Nidalee. Personally, I run the 2-star Fiora over 2-star Nidalee because with the Dragon Soul buff, you have enough damage on your board. These are, I know that all these boards that I'm showing run without Chosen, which means that you don't require any particular Chosen to run a very strong early board and use any carry. Remember that in the very early game, units are more important than synergies, which means that if you happen to have 2-star units with almost no synergies, let's say you have a Fiora, Twisted Fate, and I don't know, a Maokai, you can roll those 3 and you'll be perfectly fine because in the early game, 2-star units are stronger than some 2-star traits, 3-star traits. Okay, let's go over the mid game. During the mid game, let's see here this example. You have a Tristana, Timo Bran, and as your frontline, you have an Nautilus Braum, and as utility, you have Yumi. So here you're pretty decent. You have the 3 Dragon Soul buff, you have 2 Sharpshooters, you happen to get a spirit, either Timo or Yumi Chosen. So you're pretty good to go here. Item holders obviously would be Tristana for Stradiums. You can put them Morolonomicon on Timo. Any tiers you want to go on Yumi or something like that. And this is a mid board. Something to know that I forgot to mention, early boards tend to go from level 1 to 5. Mid-game boards are at level 6 to 7. In here, I'm showing a level 6 board, but at level 7, you can see that you can add a couple other units. You can see to add a Mystic or Diana for first spirits. And here we see another example. We're running frontline. Let's say you got a Chosen Brawler Tamkench from the very early, and you still have it by level 6. You run a Shyvana by her side for 2 Brawlers. And you run 2 Assassins as your backline DPS. Akali is your item holder. And you get a Janna Yumi, which is, in my opinion, really, really strong in the early game, early mid game, because a lot of teams can out damage the shielding and healing these two can put. And so I'd say if you have Janna and Yumi, run them in your composition. In here, you can see you can swap a Kali for a Kindred. You happen to get one, and she's also a really good item holder for Talon items. And as you can see, you don't require any specific roller. And let's say this is a level 6 board, you go to level 7, you can see to put another spirit or another assassin, you can see to put for a brawler, another enlightened, something like that to make your board even stronger. And in here would be, again, my preferable board. I would like to go 6 cultists every single game. It's really strong for you guys. So in here we have a chosen cultist. Let's say we get an Elise, Twisted Fate, Pike, Vladimir, doesn't matter. You run them, you try to get all the cultists, you run it with another keeper, so you get the shield and Galio comes quicker without your team being weakened. And here your item holders would be Callista for any sword items for Talon, or if you don't happen to have Callista, Sevier is also a good item holder. Twisted Fate as well, but obviously Callista and Sevier are way better. And at level 6, you can see that you can add a lot of different traits. Level 7, you can see that you can add a lot of different traits, so it's very flexible. All right, for the late game, obviously this is gonna be your board. Here we have another example. Let's say let's say we got to make the GA we wanted. We made the Morolonomicon for Morgana. We got to make a Solari because we were wind streaking, and so we made it. There we transfer it to Morgana. We got to make a Hodge because it's a really good item for Talon. We got to make static ship because we had the items there and there were no components for Infinite Edge for Talon, and we were holding for something like a glove to make an Infinite Edge, hopefully from the carousel. We didn't get a glove from the carousel, we got a bow, so we make a Last Whisper, which is completely fine. And we also got enough components to make a Sita Rock Portal. As you can see, it's a little different from what I showed you earlier. And you can see here we're running 5 Enlightened, which I said so, it's completely fine. You can run 5 Enlightened, it's pretty strong on its own. It gives you typically a good power spike because it lets you to start any Enlightened unit, which are pretty good. But if you happen to go to late game, you mostly stick to either drop the chosen to go for Enlightened or something like that. But this is a good strong board at level 8. All right, some extra information. Here, the first thing to note is the Lucky Lantern. The Lucky Lantern is a really cool and great mechanic which can swap a lot of fights into your favor. It can drop any of these things we've seen here. The magnet remover, obviously great, very clutch. It's not my favorite, but it works really well. It can help you transition more smoothly throughout compositions because you don't have to sell the unit, you have to start holding your items. That's really great. Reforger, you want to use the Reforger in the very late game. You don't want to use it early game because you don't know what you're playing with, right? So this lets you reforge, let's say you get a, I don't know, you get a Ionic Spark from the very last carousel, you don't want it, you have Reforger, use it on that, it's gonna be great. Okay, so here we have Target Dummy. Target Dummy is also great. It's typically more useful with compositions with a little less frontline. Talon-Morgana runs a medium frontline, so it's okay. But with the Target Dummy, especially in the late game, it's very useful because you can use it to dodge a lot of Zephyrs. You can use it as Assassin's Bait. You can use it. You can place it on the corners to stop kicking your units, or for KO or a Redland Soul, something like that. This is really useful. Next, we can get a Nico Help, which that's great on its own. You can see, let's say you get 2 early Talons, you got a Nico from a Lucky Lantern, you can to start the Talon right away if you're wind streaking or just if you want to, or you can just hold to the Nico if you happen to have a Johnny, you get another one, you Nico him, boom, to start Johnny for free. Something like that. You will use it whenever you feel like you have to, but remember that the more time this sits on your bench, the less value it has. But it doesn't mean you have to use it right away. Just use it when you think it's convenient. And another thing you can get are gold or iron components. Iron components are great. It gives you a lot more options. It lets you make sometimes another extra item, which is pretty good, pretty great. So all things from here, you can use it from the Lucky Lantern. Boom. Okay, so Talon-Morgana is a level 8 rush composition. What I mean by that is that you want to level up in these stages that I assigned here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so for the very first PvE rounds, you don't want to do anything to your leveling. You just want to run smoothly. Right here, right at the beginning from the very first PvE round, let's say you have enough gold, you have another extra unit to put, you want to push to level 4, do it. You have a stronger board, and in the next round, you have a better shop. If you don't happen to level up 4 here, do it here, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, just do it for a better shop and better board. In here, let's say you have a pretty complex option. Let's say you can make 10 gold in this round, then you don't level up, you keep your gold. But if you can make 10 economy, then you seek to push either 1 level or 2 levels. Depends on what units you're playing, how many gold you have, what units you're holding. But you are either level 5 here or here. What I mean by here is that if you want to really level up 5 in here, you have to level up twice. But by leveling up once, by the time you reach this round, you automatically be level 5 with a level 5 shop. If you happen not to do any of those things, by this round you'll be 4 XP away from level 5. You just level there and you put another unit. Boom, that's pretty great. And typically with this you have a better economy, but I like to level up here once. Leveling up twice is pretty risky. Not always you can afford it. You do it if you want to go for a win streak. Okay, so here we go all the way to the PvE round. We drop some items, pretty cool stuff. Okay, so we go by this, and by this stage 3-2, you want to level to level 6. You typically be, if you happen to level up once or twice during this whole round 2, you see you are 8 or 12 gold away. You typically do it, you stay above 20 gold, and you get a stronger board with a stronger shop. By this stage, you can try to see if you want to sell your chosen to get a 3-star chosen, which will spike up your theme, your composition really hard. I'm sorry. You go all the stage 3 without leveling up. You want to slowly make econ, because in here let's say you level up, you got 20 30 gold, and you want to obviously not roll because you want to make a fast level 8. You go all this stage, and by the raptors you want to be level 7. If you don't happen to stay above 40 gold, 50 gold, and level up here, you do it in here, it's okay. Sometimes some late level 7s will happen around here, it's okay. Just try to have a good economy and remember to never bleed out. What I mean by that is that you always want to have a really strong board. So if you're sitting in a lot of pairs, or you feel that your board is pretty quick, you can make a few rerolls, just never go below 30 gold. Okay, so throughout all the stage 4, we save our gold, we level up whenever we get above 50 gold, and you want to be level 8 by the raptors or either round 5-1, right? In here, this is a pretty vital part of every TFT game, because in here almost everyone will be getting to level 8, hitting a stroke chosen, something like that. All the compositions start to come together by this stage. So in here, let's say we have an example here. For example, the hard transition usually happens at raptors. What I mean with hard transition is that Talon-Morgana is a composition that before you run Talon-Morgana, you're running a completely composition before that. So by this stage, let's say this is your board, right? You have 6 culted with a random Irelia because she's 2-star and she's great for mine. By this stage, you sell the chosen that you have. Let's say you had a Elise cultist, Callista cultist, or Twisted Fate cultist. You sell them, you place another unit, and you'll be completely fine because you won't lose to the raptors, right? After that stage, you look to level up. By selling up your chosen around earlier, you maybe get a good chosen. The next job, I don't know. You level up to 8, and then you level up to 8, you sell your chosen, or you happen to do it before, you do it, and then you start rolling. Remember to keep this in mind. First, you level up, then you sell the chosen, then you start rolling. That's the way to go. And in here, we can see that we did exactly just that. We sell our chosen, we level up, we wait for, no, we sell our chosen, we clear the raptors without any problem, and by stage 5-1, we level up. We need to make roll down really fast, which we do. We sell the units we don't want. We happen to get a chosen Talon 2, we chosen assassin Talon, we buy that, we place it, and we make a fast transition. In here you can see I got Shen, I got Irelia, Morgana, Jana, Pike, Rakan, and Vladimir, which you can see by this was a rough transition because I have Morgana on the corner and she's gonna take a lot of damage. I have an Rakan and a Pike that does nothing for me. So, but this is typically a good transition if you happen to have something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, and by the next round you get stabilized even more. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it really helps you. I hope you enjoyed the guide. If you find it very insightful, I hope it helps you climb in the games. If you decide to play Talon-Morgana, it's a really strong composition. And I had a great time making this guide for you. If you want to see another guide, go ahead and drop it in the comments like, hey, I want to see how to play this composition or this composition. Tell me and I'll be sure to make one in the near future for you guys. Remember that you can also contact me directly through the proguides platform. You can message me, you can book a one-on-one session with me. We can play a game together, whatever you want, in order for you to become a better TFT player. I'm here for you guys. So that's it for today. Thank you. Drop a share, leave a like, whatever you want to do. Thanks, guys.